Well, it's official. Nick Saban is going to sign on in some capacity to help WVU football. But what capacity?
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up? Welcome in, guys, to another day of the West Virginia coaching searching drama. My name is Mountaineer Paul. This is another edition of Locked On West Virginia. Going to be brought to you by FanDuel, guys. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with 150 in bonus bets. But you have to win first, that $5 bet. Just go to FanDuel.com, and it'll explain it all, and you can get started. Thank you for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, and for being part of the Locked On Podcast Network here with me, where we talk about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day, Big 12, what have you. So I think a lot of us were holding out hope. I'll be sitting here and tell you myself, I was hoping that like just one time in life, the gods would bless us with just some kind of incredible luck, right? And if there's one thing that would equal to that, it would be Nick Saban coaching West Virginia, even for just like 2 years. And I was holding out hope because Pat McAfee put out a tweet yesterday that something special was in the works. So I started fantasizing. I started being a fan, that whole thing. And then Pat kind of cleared that up today. They are going to join forces, it sounds like. And here's what he said. A lot of people want that WVU job. I have faith in Ren Baker, and I talked to a lot of people yesterday. Coach Saban isn't getting back into coaching, but I do believe he is interested in helping West Virginia. That's pretty dang cool. While it isn't the best case scenario, and that definitely isn't the worst case scenario, right? It's kind of like bad news and good news situation. So I'm excited about it. Oops, sorry about that. I don't know, I think Nick Saban can attract some people to here that maybe we wouldn't have otherwise maybe had a chance at. Some larger candidates, maybe a Dan Mullen, somebody talked about. If Nick Saban's on the other end of the line, you never know. It's worth mentioning that even though I think he was kidding, Bill Belichick said he would talk to Pat McAfee about the job, which would be one heck of an experiment because I don't have any clue how that would work. I mean, if you give Bill Belichick some good players, I have no doubt he could win. But I don't think he would translate to college personally. I don't know. It's one of them things. But I have an article here that kind of goes into a little more detail from Skylar Callahan. Pat McAfee speaks on Saban's interest in the West Virginia job. Doesn't sound like the greatest of all time is set to be the leader at WVU. Just hours after West Virginia announced that they would be parting ways with head football coach Neal Brown, punter/kicker Pat McAfee made a post on X, and it got West Virginia fans excited. I've been on the phone quite a bit. Something special is possible. West Virginia's in a great spot, and I have faith he's going to get it right, talking about Ren Baker. And then the immediate reaction was, oh, it's Nick Saban. So he cleared it up saying, I saw a lot of people tweeting after my tweet like Coach Saban is coming back to save us. I think Coach Saban's having a good time in retirement. I think Coach Saban is enjoying college game day, and I don't think he's getting back into coaching. I've asked him 1,000 times if he's coming back to coach West Virginia, but I do think he is interested in helping West Virginia, which is the very good news in this entire conversation. Remember what I said yesterday, guys? I'm trying to speculate a little bit about, so what did Pat McAfee mean, right? If there are a lot of people asking for this job, calling Pat McAfee, trying to help him, trying to get him to help them get the job. Well, the obvious suspects come to mind, right? Jimbo, Rich Rod. I think those are the two that come to mind first, and then there are probably a myriad of others. And here's how I think a Jimbo or Rich Rod experiment could work. You're going to have money. Obviously, I know that's super obvious, But like I think if you give a guy like Jimbo or Rich Rod a lot of money, like if you're talking about like, well, here's the example I used yesterday. Ken Kendrick is openly a big Rich Rodriguez fan. I know this will divide the fan base, but he is a huge Rich Rod fan. If he's willing to come to the table and say, look, not only will I'll cover some of his salary, but I'll guarantee XYZ in the NIL and put you in the top 2 or 3 in the Big 12, right? Along those lines. I think that's something that's possible here. I think if you're going to bring a guy like – listen, nobody ever questioned if Rich Rod could win with good players. My question was, could he still get good players? Because the players we won at West Virginia with were developed over the 4 years, right? That was a very much a developmental program. And he's winning at Jacksonville State, don't get me wrong, but he, you know, it's a little bit different at the group of 5 level. It is. So it would be an interesting experiment, I think. Where Nick Saban fits into all this is just, I don't know. I think the other connection you have to make is Schumann at Georgia. Schumann he was on Saban's staff for a couple of the rings that he won. Matter of fact, let me just pull up Schumann, who was the Georgia defensive coordinator, just to get you guys up to date on everything he's accomplished. He's very young, but by all accounts, extremely sought after, right? So he was born in 1990, so he's 5 years younger than me, making him 34. So he didn't play college football. He's kind of like a Mike Leach, right? After he graduated high school in Texas, he enrolled in Alabama to be a student assistant under Coach Nick Saban in 2008. Reflecting on his time as a student assistant, he graduated in 2011. I must have skipped a part there. Sorry, my mouse moved the screen on me and I lost my place here. He said, reflecting on his time as a student assistant, he was doing anything that was asked of him and served as a student assistant from 2008 to 11. During his time as a student assistant, Alabama won an SEC championship and a national championship. After he graduated, he became a graduate assistant under Saban. During his time on the field as an assistant, he worked closely with Saban and defensive coordinator Kirby Smart in installing the defensive game plan every week. He worked with the outside linebackers during the early part of his stint and then switched with the secondary for the latter part of his tenure as a graduate assistant. In 2014, he became the director of football operations at Alabama, guys. His responsibilities at this position included off-field activities, player development, and helping student athletes balance athletics and academics and organizing recruiting efforts. He was the very first hire Kirby Smart made at Georgia. So before he started his dynasty, his first hire was Glenn Schumann. In my opinion, that's the largest compliment in all of this for this guy. So he hired him away from Alabama and made him the defensive coordinator, right? And he's had a really good run. Now, they've had some games this year where they weren't as tight as in some years. But, I mean, you know, he won the Butkus Award, which goes he coached Roquan Smith, who won the Butkus Award in 17. They won the first SEC championship in 17 as well. Then prior to 19, when Mel Tucker left to become the head coach at Colorado, Smart promoted Schumann to outside linebackers coach. I apologize. Some of this is backwards on here. So he was outside linebackers coach, then moved to defensive coordinator after Dan Lanning left. He was co-defensive coordinator with Dan Lanning. His 2019 defense had the best defense in the nation, allowing 12.6 points per game and 276 yards per game, and was part of the Bulldogs coaching staff that won a national championship over Alabama in 2021. He won a second championship with Georgia and the 6th overall when he defeated TCU in the national championship game. He was part of that. 2023, he interviewed for the Eagles defensive coordinator job, but ultimately decided to remain at Georgia. So obviously this is a high-profile guy, and it's going to be interesting to see if he is the guy that Saban links West Virginia to, because Saban would know, right, if he was ready for this. I think that's the great part in all this is if there's if Saban's going to help us, it's got to be with guys he knows, guys that went through his coaching camps, like Lane Kiffin, Mike Loxley, and others did. Charles Huff is another one that did. And Schumann came up through just naturally and went on to other things. Also seen the Tennessee defensive coordinator Banks mentioned. There's a few that Nick Saban would be familiar with. I'm not sure as to what his overall role is going to be, but it's a bombshell, right? I think just any help from Saban would be just really just icing on the cake, guys. So I've seen people speculating about the timeline on this hire. I think it's, most people think it's going to get done before Christmas, sometime in that middle December range, probably, unless they just find the right guy right away, which is very possible. So at the end of the day, it's good news, I think, that Saban is likely going to help us. Up next, guys, let's talk about Chad Scott. Players aren't happy. Lots of people in the portal already. Can Chad Scott stop the bleeding? I think it's an important question. We're going to talk about next on Locked On West Virginia. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, guys. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets. That's if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets in the NFL, and that's all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more on the same place you place your bets. Tongue-tied. Just visit FanDuel.com today to join up. Don't forget about that $150 in bonus bets, and you can get your first $5 bet, guys. All you got to do is win that thing, and you're in at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, guys, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. We are back. We are back. We are back. So, obviously, we've had some decommits. We've had some transfers already. Brody McWhorter, which, when it's all said and done, may get a 5th star. He was a big quarterback recruit for Neal and company. The highest rated player maybe ever that we've gotten. He flipped today. He didn't flip. He just decommitted. On the same token, Scotty, Mr. his last name, Scotty Fox, decided to stick with West Virginia. Obviously, Josiah Jackson has decided to transfer, and there's been a couple others. So Chad Scott is the interim head coach. So what that means is he will remain coach until another coach is selected. I see people freaking out in the chat. Jason, he's only the coach for maybe a week or two, man. It's not a big deal at all. Not a big deal at all. I feel like I've seen a lot of racism on Facebook today, by the way, guys, and I think that's very, very – if that's how you feel, I don't want you part of the fan base, he's deserving of this interim title. He's one of the hottest coaches in the country. He's going to move up from here. And whether he's black or white has nothing to do with it. I'm not saying anybody in the chat's doing that, but I have seen a couple, 2-3 people today on X talking about his skin color. I just think that's awfully, awfully bad taste, man. There's no need for it. Guys, don't make us look any worse than we already are, please. People already think West Virginia is a racist state. There's no need to go there, right? Chad Scott is in the position he's in because he earned it. He earned it, flat out. Would I hire him as our head coach full-time? No, I wouldn't. But I'll tell you what, just like Shannon Dawson, I wouldn't be surprised, which Shannon Dawson is the Miami offensive coordinator. I wouldn't be surprised to see Chad Scott on some head coaching lists here in a couple years. So all I'm saying is if that's how you feel, don't voice it publicly, first of all. Keep that in your own house. There's no reason to put that stuff out on the internet. All it does is hurts our fan base. It hurts our players. It hurts our coaches. It hurts us. And there's really nothing that can be solved with it. I do think it's kind of cool that he would be the first black head coach in West Virginia history. I think that's something that needs mentioning. I don't want to sit here and get on a big discussion about it. I'm not trying to use race in any kind of way to galvanize anybody. I just think that that's something that's cool, right? I don't think we've ever had a black head coach. So kudos to Ren Baker and company for making that decision. And I hope Chad Scott, a really positive guy and somebody that these players love. Have you seen the video yet, guys, of Chad Scott getting the job? Oh my God. Let's see if I can find it really quick. There's a video of it. I don't know if I can find it off the top of my head without searching. Let's see. I'm not seeing it on here just quickly anyways. Anyway, there was a video of him being named. Somebody mentioned it. A video of him being named interim coach. And we'll see what happens. I mean, I can't find it off the top. Maybe somebody else can point me in that direction after this. But, man, I'll tell you what, man, it's going to be really fun to have him for the next couple weeks leading this team. And I think he's got a chance to keep some of the roster together for the next guy. We'll see what happens. I certainly don't think – I was telling somebody earlier, I don't know how much of this team we need to keep together for the next coach, but it would be nice if we can keep some of the guys, right? I mean, we don't want a guy to have to replace 70, 80 players. I think, and all of our best players, it would be nice if we can get them to stay. Like if we can get CJ Jaheim, one of the quarterbacks, name one, maybe you go Khalil Wilkins for upside, or maybe go Ryder Burton. A couple of the receivers we still need, like, Darius Farmer and those guys. I would love to see how they would do with new coaches. Our tight ends are integral to a running game. I think they're all seasoned and ready. And their offensive line, man, they had the one good thing this coaching staff had going, year in, year out, they were ready to plug in a new offensive line. And although they didn't perform as well as they did last year, this year, they weren't bad. They weren't the problem, that's for sure. They weren't. Other things were the issue. We didn't have any downfield passing game, so people loaded the box against us all year, and it hurt us, right? Last year, Garrett was able to take the top off, and that's why we were able to run it better. We had guys that were able to take the top off the defense. So it's unfortunate, man. But it's nice to know that West Virginia is going to play in their bowl game. We had heard that maybe they would opt out. So I think it's interesting that Chad Scott's going to lead West Virginia to a bowl game that's not going to have a lot of publicity. But it'd be kind of cool if he could get them to rally up and win it. It's not going to be Bill Stewart marching into the Fiesta Bowl and beating Oklahoma, but it's still pretty cool. So it's crazy how Bill Stewart won himself the job after doing that. I wonder which way we would have went had we not with Stu. You'll never know, will we? So, anyways, guys, I don't have much else. There's one other topic I need to get to, but we'll do it after the break. The players aren't happy, guys. I don't know if you've seen that, but a lot of players have spoken out about this. I'm going to go over a list of players that have spoken out about the Neal firing. Stick around for that next. This is Locked On West Virginia. And this episode is also brought to you by Game Time, guys. Game Time filters out the fluff so you don't have to, and they show you only incredible deals on great seats. That way you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Curated deals make it easier to find the best price on great seats. And let me tell you one thing about Game Time that I love, guys, is they'll credit you 110% of the difference. That's if you can find a lower price, making your purchase covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the app and create an account. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. but create that account, redeem the code, and just type out LOCKEDON college for $20 off your first purchase and download the app. And then ask yourself this, guys, what time is it? It's game time. All right, here we go. So I think it was, it was. Let me get back to it. Mike Osty had, I have to look at my replies to find it. Let's see. So he posted something about the players and how they were unhappy with the Neal firing and how a lot had kind of just spoke out or just, whether it was like an emoji or just a little statement. A lot of them have spoken out and more since this was published. But current and former players react to the firing of Neal Brown. So we've got Darius Stills. I wish nothing but the best for Coach Neal Brown. I have huge amounts of love for his family and for his approach to the game and how much he cares for players and staff. He was 100. Nothing but respect for him and hope he succeeds at another program. All love from 56. Jaheim White, grateful for everything I've been given. Time to focus on the bowl. He's got the prayer hands. Rodney Gallagher's got cry faces. Johnny Williams has got a cry face. Darius Farmer has got a sad face. Brandon Yates has got a sad face. Bruce Irvin. Tag grin and tell him to bring me home. Anthony Beck just posted ... Michael Hayes, thank you for everything with a picture of him hugging. Neal Brown. Jaquay Hubbard, Coach Brown helped change my life. Love you forever, Coach. Nick Malone, I appreciate everything, Coach. TJ Crandall, unhappy face. I think, here's the thing. They loved him, man. Whether we did or not is irrelevant. We weren't around him every day. I'll compare it to this. So when I was in Marine Corps boot camp, we had drill instructors. We had a senior drill instructor. We had what was called a kill hat, which is the guy that was just mean to us all the time. And we had a drill instructor, which just taught us how to drill and stuff like that. The senior drill instructor was the guy that would discipline us, but he was also the guy that gave us our mail and was really nice to us and kind of that father figure. And a lot of us I had a weird situation happen where they staged, this is a real situation, they staged a firing of our drill instructors in the middle of Marine Corps boot camp. And I've talked to thousands of Marines since then. Nobody's ever heard of this. But they came in and pretended to fire all of our drill instructors, the guys that were teaching us for like 2 months, right? It's only 3 months long. And for a week, they brought in all nothing to these kill hats, right? And like there were all of our recruits were crying, man. Even though this guy that had disciplined us, they missed this guy, man. He was, and his name was Senior Drill Instructor Staff Sergeant Knuckles. Was his name, but he was a really nice guy. And man, our guys took it really hard. He was a good leader, and he changed a lot of our lives. He helped me in a lot of ways too. So when he came back, man, it was a big deal when we found out it was all just a joke. But not a joke. I think it was a training ploy or mechanism or something. This is in the early 2000s too, so they were doing things they really weren't supposed to do. They broke my nose. They punched me in the stomach. They threw me downstairs. Like, it was really rough, man. They beat the crap out of me because I was overweight and all that. But I'm getting off track. But I think this is kind of similar to the players with Neal Brown. This is a guy that, may have been hard on you, may have been disciplining you, but you realize he loved you. And I just think, I hate that this affects so many people, but it had to happen for us, right? At some point, they had to think about us too. So, all right, guys, recap really quick. Nick Saban has come on. According to Pat McAfee, is willing to help in the coaching search, which we've known that, but to kind of have it official is really cool. Apparently, according to Pat, also lots of people calling him, wanting the job. Something special is possible. We'll see what that entails soon, guys. And I'll keep you updated right here. Don't forget to like the video before you pop out, guys, on either. And hit that subscribe button. Thank you for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, guys. If I could urge you to make Locked On Big 12 your second listen or your last listen, Drake Toll leads the conversation in conference realignment and pulls no punches when it comes to covering college football. Go check him out over Locked On Big 12 on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And I will see you guys probably this evening. I'm sure more news will break. If not, I'll see you tomorrow. All right, guys. Have a great evening. I'm out.